Hi, Demi.
Hi, good to see
So
you.
good to see you. So it's been a long journey from Lithuania to Colorado, and now where are you?
I'm currently in North Carolina, but I just got back from Costa Rica and
Oh,
Florida.
yeah,
Yeah, it's taken me
great.
everywhere. It's been amazing.
So how did you get started into painting or any other art form?
Yeah, so I started making art when I was a little kid, and I thought that all little kids do that, but I recently found out that not everyone does. My friend was like, my son won't ever paint with me, and that blows my mind because I thought we naturally just all do that, and I just never stopped. So that's given me something to think about. But the way that I got further into art and really realized that it could be a viable career or that it's my passion and that the world needs this was when I was 17 years old. I went to a music festival called Summer Camp,
Oh,
and I
okay.
made a poster with all the bands on it and a bunch of random scenes from the festival. And I made 100 copies and I sold them over the weekend. And everyone was just so amazed by what I created. And so many people were like, please don't ever stop making art. And everyone was I sold out within like the first day or the first couple days. And
Oh, wow.
that really showed to me that I was like, wow, people appreciate me for my art, and this is something that people are willing to give me money for. And that kind of planted the seed. I didn't take off right away, but I created some festival posters here and there, and so it planted that seed and definitely showed me what's possible. And I owe a lot to the festival scene and the visionary art community, because that was definitely kind of my beginning of my world as an artist.
When did you start jumping into the transcendental, spiritual type of arts from your starting point was a collage. How did your styles change and you interpret your art in a different manner?
Yeah. So the if I look back on my older work, it's always been kind of trippy, transcendental, dreamlike, I would say fantasy.
Yeah.
That's something that I've always played with. And those posters that I'm referring to, like they were also very psychedelic. They were inspired by like 60s hippie movements and stuff like that. So I was already making like very trippy, very detailed things.
Uh-huh.
But it didn't shift until I personally had my spiritual awakening, which was at about 27 years old. So it was about 10 years later after I went to my first festival. I was living in the middle of nowhere. I had moved out there because I had 3 dogs and I couldn't rent anywhere. So I ended up in
Oh,
a very beautiful rural place. But it changed my life because I spent so much time in nature and alone and in peace and quiet.
uh,
And of course, like so many of my own demons came up, but I was kind of faced with like the reality of life and the intelligence of nature. And there
yeah.
was a shift where I went from being an atheist to realizing how divine and intelligent this creation is and that it's beyond our comprehension. And it's really hard to put into words the experience I had, but it was the trees swaying and in cohesion and just seeing how alive and intelligent and all is. It kind of like made me realize that I'm an extension of this intelligence, and like none of us know what it took to create this kind of life that supports itself and is so symbiotic. But to me, like in that moment, it became so apparent that it's not accidental and that it's very conscious and alive and
You
present.
felt totally interconnected.
Yes, exactly. It was just this moment of bliss and awareness, and it just shifted my whole worldview. And like at the time, like I said, I was kind of struggling with a lot of things internally. And from that point forward, my art became a lot more abstract and a lot more fluid.
Yeah.
So I noticed that I just kind of relaxed and I allowed myself to create from playfulness, from the heart, instead of trying to force something that I think is very, original or thought provoking. Because
Or like
anytime I
the
try to
right
create,
way or something, instead of doing it the right way, you're doing it from your heart.
Exactly, exactly. Instead of trying to force it and think my way into some sort of profound piece, I just allowed myself to be a kid again and play, and like just how trees can make no mistakes by doing what they were created to do. I can't make mistakes by creating what I was born to do. So I just allowed myself to play and flow, and I fell in love with the process again. And the response that I got from people looking at my art was so different. Like people really started to respond to it and want to talk about it. And I noticed that the patterns I was creating actually resembled a lot the energy, the interconnection that I saw of all the trees. So I have an example. This is my current work in progress.
Oh, wow.
It's not finished, but it is very flowy and a lot of movement. And that's kind of, I call this the unified field, that's energy and rhythm. So this is like my representation of the unified energy field that interconnects everything.
I
And
saw
I
the other
kind of,
day. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
stumbled, I was just saying, I stumbled upon this without trying to create anything transcendental or trying to think my way of like, how can I capture that experience onto canvas? I just started to play, and then I realized that what I'm painting is already what I wanted to portray and talk about. So I would say that's when my work really shifted into like more spiritual subject matter, because I myself became so much more aware of like different realms and just the intelligence beyond the material realm.
Yeah, I had some experience like this too, but I noticed that I can never capture the actual imagination. I could capture through a flow of imagination, but not the actual end process of the imagination.
Yeah. And I can't say that I can capture everything that I can think of or that can visualize. I don't think that's ever I mean, it might be the goal, but it's probably pretty unattainable because our internal experiences are so multidimensional. And to portray
Yeah.
something on a 2D canvas, it's limiting. So even if it's a symbolic representation of what you are envisioning, it's still important to create that.
Would you say that in 3D we would be able to create it now that they have all these digital processes?
Well, it gives us a new layer of the dimension, of course, if we can step into a place, experience the sensation of sound. And yeah, I think it's a really cool tool that gives us another dimension, but I
I
don't
don't
know if
think
we'll
it's
ever be
still
able to
possible to
portray.
produce what's in our minds on
Yeah,
any
perhaps.
type of any type of canvas, even if it's 3D.
Yeah, even a three-dimensional canvas, because our experience is visceral
Yeah.
and you can't step into that.
What like do you get many commissions now that you're have a name and you're so further into your art career? Do you get many commissions?
Yeah, I do commissions pretty consistently, and I can be pretty selective about it too. I don't book them like a year in advance. So for me, still, excuse me, if I'm traveling or focusing on a personal project, I won't take commissions. Excuse
Sorry.
me. But yeah, right now I have a commission in the works, and I take about 2 or 3 commissions a year.
Is it hard to meet the expectations of the person who's hiring you, or do you mix and match a little bit of what you are, like half and half, or how do you how do you go about it?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it can be really hard to work with certain clients. I've been really blessed, and people come to me because they know what I do.
Yeah.
So they give me just the right amount of direction,
Uh-huh.
and then they give me creative freedom.
That's good.
Yeah, and a lot of times, excuse me, I need
Are
to
you
pause
okay?
for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I just taught my class, so my voice is just,
You
um,
have a little bit of cough.
yeah, I just need to eat some honey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 1 second, I'll be right back.
Okay. You okay?
I've just been talking for like 2 hours straight, so
Oh
my
yeah,
throat's a
you're
little
teaching
tickly.
class, right?
Hmm.
How often do you teach your class?
I do it once every 2 weeks, so
Okay.
not very often. And that's what I was about to get into with the commissions. Is that you want to leave room for your personal projects, because if I get caught up in just doing other people's projects, then it kind of drains you after a while. And I feel like I want to show up with the same excitement as I would with any work that I do.
Right. How do you balance this burnout with the rest of your life? How do you balance everything?
I'm not sure if there is such thing as complete balance where everything just feels in the flow and perfect all the time. I
Yeah,
do feel like art is my lifestyle. It consumes a lot of me. But I do allow myself days and times off social media and off creation. If I feel depleted, to me, the way I see it is like nothing in nature blooms all year round. And so expecting yourself to produce something beautiful and blooming all the time is just unrealistic.
right.
So I allow myself, space and time off, and I try to the best of my abilities. Like I give myself longer deadlines, so I know that I'll create the painting within a lot less time than I need to. But if I do need to take more time, I have that space, so my clients aren't unhappy. Um, but finding a balance is hard because you have to find time to be creative and play and inspire yourself. Then you have to do things that produce money and market yourself and learn new skills. And so it can be a really, really big animal. Running a small business isn't easy, and being an artist and supporting yourself off of art, it can be challenging at times, and it can be unpredictable. So
Yeah, and
it's
having
really
to go with the flow and having all these different jobs that we do, being an artist is not easy. Like, but at the same time, I also feel the same way. Like, what do you mean? Like, what is it burnout? Because it's, it's everything that you do. So it's almost like,
right.
yeah, it's almost like a question that if a non-artist asks an artist that question, which is I'm kind of doing this for all small businesses so they can understand that art is not something you have to burn out. You just have to take breaks and you have to just keep on going.
Pace yourself. And I like to work in time blocks, so I'll have 3 hours in a day where I do my admin work, my computer work, my emails, client communications. Part of the day I do like making videos, maybe making some sketches, and then another part of my day is just dedicated to studio practice and just making art. So that way I kind of just have some balance, and once that time of the day comes, I'm done with the computer work. Even if it's not completed, the next day will
Yeah.
come. So that way I'm pacing myself and I'm doing a little bit of everything every single day, instead of kind of drowning in one type of work
Yeah.
and then
And
feeling
also
like,
just on the eyes and on the back, it's hard.
right. And it's easier said than done. So it's definitely come a long ways of making a lot of mistakes and burning out and feeling like I need to walk away from this completely. Like there's been so many times. And then there's other times where it's okay to take a side job. Like it can be humbling and being like, wow, I was doing so great. I was making so many sales and now it's slowed down. But to me, I'm doing this all for the art. So sometimes even taking a job to support your art practice is the most noble thing you can do. It doesn't make you less of an artist. It makes you a more dedicated artist, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
What is the biggest piece of advice you would give somebody who's just starting out, who may not have declared themselves an artist, but they have some artistic tendencies and they want to kind of jump into it a little bit? What would you say to them?
Yeah, trust your inner guidance. You are an artist by birth. Everyone is, I declare, you give you permission to be an artist. So first of all, remember that you are a creative and you are a creator. Whether you're creating a meal or an environment or a painting or a song or a poem, it doesn't matter. We're all born creatives. Some of
Yeah,
us just are maybe have a little bit more shame, a little bit more wounding surrounding our creative expression, but we're all have a gift and a talent that we want to share with the world. So first of all, just know that. And then from there, if you want to pursue it further, I say really narrow down who you're consuming on social media, because comparison can really kill inspiration. So when you're looking at
yeah,
other people's numbers, other people's style, how fast people are advancing, you can really like
it
drain
can
yourself in
really, yeah,
comparison.
you can really
So
feel it.
only follow people that really inspire you and uplift you. And if you find yourself comparing yourself, judging yourself, just delete that, or don't follow those accounts. And then my third tip would be to take lessons or workshops or even online classes from people that you admire or people that work in the style that you want to learn, because there are so many different ways of doing art and it's all valid. But if you want to be a classical painter versus a cartoonist, you're going to want to learn from different people. So just, in the beginning, don't overthink it. You don't have to choose what you want to do, but like see which people pique your interest, pique your attention, and kind of by finding people with different styles that you admire, you can kind of match that into your own thing, as
Yeah,
you
I
begin
would
to.
really, really love to see if I could ever paint like you. My style has always been abstract, but abstract, just like kind of like Jackson Pollock, but like I tried to form like actual like um and like a rose. I would do like a rose, a painting in the style of a rose, not just random splashes of paint.
Mhm.
But I've never been able to get to a point where I could show that spirituality on my canvas. So maybe one day I can learn from you.
Yeah, of course. And right now I'm teaching an abstract painting class, so it's really more about letting loose and letting go. But
Is
there's
it
so many
online
resources.
or do you
I'm
do
sorry?
it online or is it in person?
Yeah, it's online. It's once every 2 weeks, and it's called The Art of Letting Go. So
Um,
really, we do a lot of like meditative practices, and we talk about things that we're going through in our life and in our lives, and how it translates, like the things that we're learning on the canvas and how it translates into other parts of our life. Because to me, making art is just a metaphor for creating your own life intentionally. But when it comes to learning technique and advancing, I really want to shout out Vitra Academy and Vision Train, VITRA. Vitra Academy has
oh,
amazing resources for visionary artists,
okay.
and they have classes for all levels, how to approach like mesh technique, making things look dimensional, creating textures. Like they go over so many advanced techniques that like every beginner can take their practice really far, as long as you follow along and use this
Um,
consistently. Like
wow.
patience is really key. I would say young artists, like remember that art is a learned skill, and so it takes practice. And so the people that you're comparing yourself to, they've put in tens of thousands of hours. And so you
Yeah.
gotta show up and do this for yourself.
What is your favorite piece, and what is your favorite memory of making art, either by yourself or in public?
Um, So my favorite piece is the one that I created under instruction of Alex Gray. It's called Divine Empowerment, and it celebrates menstruation.
Okay.
It's
I think I
something
might have
that
seen it, but I'm not sure if that was the one that was. I think I might
it
have seen
stands
it.
up. That's probably it. I haven't done any other paintings like that, and it portrays a woman bleeding in her power and connected to all of nature. There's animals around her. She's rooted to the ground. And for me, it was reclamation of this natural part of fertility and vitality that we carry, that we are taught to be ashamed of, and we're taught that it's a gross thing and something to hide. But really, the older that I get, the more that I'm finding that it has a lot to do with our powers and strengthening our intuition. And when we're in tune with our cycle and we really honor ourselves when we're menstruating, um, we can begin to get really in touch with our psychic powers and our intuitive powers, and just yeah, so to me it's a reclamation of this part of us that connects us to the divine feminine and to our higher consciousness, that really by not carrying that shame, by not trying to hide it, and really respecting, honoring, learning more about it, we can become these more healthy, more balanced, more powerful beings. And that painting has just, it's been influential for myself, but the conversations that it started, the amount of times that people came up to me and sharing their own rituals that they do with their blood, and how much shame that they've carried, and how they feel like they've never could have talked to anyone about this. And then it's almost like forming these little groups of like, well, you're not the only one to tell me. Like, all these women are creating magical practices with their blood, but like they think that they're the only ones and that they can't talk about it. But I'm like, we're all doing it. They're all coming to me and whispering about it because they made this painting. So it was a really beautiful way to like start the conversation. And I don't know, to me it's a really powerful, impactful image that I'm really grateful to have created.
Can you repeat the name of the painting one more time?
Yeah, it's called Divine Empowerment.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, it's on my website and Instagram. I
Are
would
you
show the
selling
examples.
prints and tapestries of it?
Yes, I have prints and I have stickers. I'm not sure if the tapestry is still available right now,
Okay.
but I have made it. And then what was your other question?
What's your favorite experience creating the paintings, inside or outside? Anyone?
Yeah. So the first memory that comes to mind was last summer. I was painting at Pyro Festival, and this woman came up to me and she was like, I had no idea you were going to be here. She had seen me on TikTok, and she was like, because of your TikToks, this is why I'm now an artist again. She was like, I went and I bought all these supplies. I've been afraid to create.
One day, Nimsha.
It's okay.
5 minute ಕೊಡು. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So my favorite memory is painting at this festival, and this woman came up to me and she basically told me that she's now an artist because of me, because I inspired her to get back in touch and to create. And so to me, like that's all I could ever ask for. That's the biggest goal, shifting someone's perspective and giving someone permission and getting them in touch with that creative force. To me, it's my life's work and my life's mission is to get as many people to express themselves and to relieve that blockages. And it's not like we all have to be professional artists, so we have to make a living off of this. It's not about that at all. But as long as we all have some sort of creative practice, to me, I feel like that's my work is done, because to me that is a form of worship. That's what gets us closer to our creator, because it's a creative expression. And that's why, whether you're writing music or poetry or art, it's a metaphor for creating greater life. So it gets us in alignment with that flow, and it gives us a broader understanding of how this universe is created. At least that is my belief.
I used to have the same kind of moment or mission Then 5 years ago, I was battling domestic violence, and my painting, I kind of went into a hermit mode and stopped the painting, which was not good. But I wish to start again, and I feel so empowered to meet you and to get to know you. And I hope that maybe you'll come on again when you have more developments.
Of course, I'd be happy to share where I am in my process, and I'm so grateful to meet you, and I'm really grateful to hear that you're inspired by what I'm sharing,
Yeah,
because
I
really
am.
that's, to me, that's why I keep showing up. It's like I said, it's not easy, and especially creating social media content and trying to show up for the world while you're trying to create art. It's a lot of plates to spin, but to me, it's all worth it because um, we inspire each other. We need each other. We all create something for each other. So just as, you know, in nature, everything blooms for each other, same with us. Like everything that we do in this society is to help uplift one another.
And if there's anything that I can put out in a timely fashion, just let me know and I will do it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.